Hello, and welcome to our lesson on risk management. This segment will cover qualitative risk analysis. Performing qualitative risk analysis involves prioritizing individual project risks for further analysis or action by evaluating their probability of occurrence, impact, and other characteristics. This process is a continuous effort throughout the project lifecycle, and its key advantage lies in directing attention to high-priority risks. This analysis assesses the priority of identified individual project risks by considering factors such as their likelihood of occurrence and the potential impact on project objectives. The assessments are inherently subjective, relying on the perceptions of the project team and stakeholders. Effective assessment requires explicit identification and management of the risk attitudes of key participants in the performed qualitative risk analysis process. To enhance the assessment of each risk's importance to the project, an evaluation of the quality of available information on individual project risks is conducted. Perform qualitative risk analysis not only establishes the relative priorities of these risks for planned risk responses, but also designates a risk owner for each risk. The risk owner takes responsibility for planning an appropriate risk response and ensuring its implementation. Perform qualitative risk analysis is a recurring process, aligning with the project's life cycle as outlined in the risk management plan. The tools and techniques engaged in performing qualitative risk analysis are the expert judgment, data gathering, and data analysis, interpersonal and team skills, risk categorization, data representation, meetings. The expert judgment involves seeking insights from individuals or groups with specialized knowledge or training in previous similar projects or qualitative risk analysis. Expert judgment is commonly acquired through facilitated risk workshops or interviews. It is important to be aware of the potential for bias in expert views during this process. Various data gathering techniques, including interviews, can be employed for this process. Structured or semi-structured interviews are effective in assessing the probability and impacts of individual project risks, among other factors. Several data analysis techniques can be applied during this process, including risk data quality assessment, evaluates the accuracy and reliability of data about individual project risks. The quality of risk data is crucial for meaningful qualitative risk analysis. Risk probability and impact assessment assesses the likelihood of specific risks occurring and their potential effects on project objectives such as schedule, cost, quality, or performance. Assessment of other risk parameters. The project team may consider additional characteristics beyond probability and impact when prioritizing individual project risks for further analysis and action. Interpersonal and team skills utilized for this process encompass facilitation. Facilitation enhances the effectiveness of qualitative analysis for individual project risks. A proficient facilitator ensures participants remain focused on the risk analysis task, adhere to the associated methodology, reach consensus on probability, and impacts assessments, identify and address sources of bias, and resolve any disagreements that may arise. Project risks can be categorized based on sources of risk utilizing the risk breakdown structure, RBS, or by the affected area of the project. Additionally, other relevant categories, such as project phase, project budget, and roles and responsibilities, may be considered to identify areas of the project most exposed to uncertainty effects. Grouping risks into categories facilitates the development of more effective risk responses by concentrating attention and effort on areas with the highest risk exposure, or by formulating generic risk responses to address related risk groups. Various data representation techniques applied during this process include probability and impact matrix. This grid maps the probability of each risk occurrence and its impact on project objectives if it occurs. An organization can assess a risk separately for each objective, for example, cost, time, and scope, or determine an overall priority level by combining assessments or taking the highest priority level regardless of the affected objective. Hierarchical charts. When risks are categorized using more than 2 parameters, the probability and impact matrix may not be suitable, and alternative graphical representations such as bubble charts are necessary. Meetings or risk workshop, dedicated to exploring identified individual project risks. The primary objectives of this meeting encompass reviewing previously identified risks, evaluating probability and impacts, along with potentially other risk parameters, performing categorization, and establishing priorities. As part of the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process, each individual project risk is assigned a risk owner responsible for devising an appropriate risk response and reporting progress on risk management. The meeting may commence by reviewing and validating the probability and impact scales designated for the analysis. As a result of executing qualitative risk analysis, various project documents may undergo updates. Assumption. Log. The Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis process may lead to new assumptions, identification of additional constraints, or revisions to existing assumptions or constraints. Issue log. The issue log should be amended to account for any newly discovered issues or modifications to existing ones during the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis. Risk register. The risk register is updated with information generated during the Perform Qualitative Risk Analysis. Risk report. The risk report is modified to mirror the most critical individual project risks, typically those with the highest probability and impact. This is the end of this segment of our lesson. In the next segment, we shall discuss quantitative risk analysis. This course is presented to you by South Europe College. Thank you for listening, and see you on our next segment.